You know, you don't get much more excitement than the Bronx and a playoff game, and it's a game that the home team Yankees, they really have to win. You know, they're down 2-1, and you've got Masahiro Tanaka pitching today at home against the Astros and Zach Greinke. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. And for the first time in probably, 3 weeks, I can actually talk, and sound like, myself. So we've got a lot of talking to do today. We're going to talk solely about Yankees and Red Sox and Astros, not Red Sox. What have I got in my brain this morning? The rivalry, right? The rivalry. And it's what a rivalry it's becoming. 2 years ago, basically losing to the Astros in the ALCS, you can look at it this way, because Joe Girardi, his managerial job, if he had won that year, I can't imagine the Yankees firing him. But they losing 7 games to Houston, to a team that, probably not as good that year as they are now, actually. But the Yankees are better, too. And I know the Washington Nationals, they lie on the horizon for either team, and don't get me wrong, that's another discussion for another day. Washington, they're loaded. Are you kidding me? That top 3 pitching, in fact, their top 4, I'd put Washington's 4 starters up against any of the teams remaining. They're as good or better than either of the starting staffs of the Yankees and Astros. But right now, it's the Astros and Yankees fighting to get to that World Series spot. And today you've got Greinke and you've got Tanaka. And I think what we have to do is look back at some history. Tanaka facing off game 1 against Greinke, threw 67 pitches through 6 innings. He looked masterful. He really did. And Greinke, not so much. And so what do we expect today? Do we expect more of the same? I don't know. Let's look at their stat line from game 1 when the series opened up just a few days ago. And Yankees win that game 7-0. Gleyber Torres onslaught. LeMahieu got 2 hits. Judge got 2 hits. Torres got 3. So your top 3 hitters in game 1 when Greinke pitched were a collective 7 for 14. That's a 500 average. Tanaka went 6, gave up the 1 hit, the 1 walk, struck out only 4. 68 pitches, 45 were strikes. Greinke threw 83 pitches, 54 were strikes. Greinke went 6 innings in that game, gave up 7 hits, gave up 3 earned runs, struck out 6, but he gave up the 2 long balls. And that's the key to the game today. Now you're in a different ballpark, whereas left field is a short porch in Houston, right field is a short porch in New York, and the Yankee batters, they're set to go, And so it's going to be an interesting game from several aspects. How does Greinke approach the Yankee batting lineup? And what I'd like to do is give you the projected lineup, I think, for both teams. Let's sort of look at how each pitcher may line up against these folks, okay? You've got DJ LeMahieu probably, this is a probable lineup. I don't see anything yet. But DJ LeMahieu at first base, Aaron Judge at right, Gleyber Torres at second, Edwin Encarnacion DHing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Stanton does not start today. Aaron Hicks will be playing center field, I think batting 5th. Gardner batting 6th. I think they'll mix up the lineup. I can't imagine Gleyber Torres not going back to the 3-hole. Sanchez 7th, Urshela 8th, and Didi Gregorius 9th. Now that's my projected order. DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, and Torres batting 1, 2, and 3 in that order. Now, if I were going to do anything to tinker, I like Aaron Hicks batting 4th, actually, because I've seen some good swings from Hicks. I would flip-flop Hicks and Encarnacion if I did any changing there, but I would have LeMahieu, Judge, Torres, Hicks, and Encarnacion 1 through 5 in some type of order. I've not been impressed with Gary Sanchez. And Gary Sanchez has got to come up big in some kind of playoff game. He hasn't yet. In fact, Gary Sanchez, to me, looks lost, very lost at the plate. If you'd like to call in this morning, we'll go live, 919-922-9093. That's 919-922-9093. Give me a call. We'll talk Yankees. We'll talk Astros. And so I think what's important for the Yankees, I look at this as a Game 7, although it's a Game 4. I say that because look what lies on the horizon. The Astros have announced that Verlander's going to pitch Game 5. And historically, Yankees have not done well against Verlander. So if you lose Game 4, knowing you got Verlander in Game 5, it doesn't bode well, and the outlook is very dark and bleak for the Yankees. So you've got to do everything you can do to win Game 4. And I've heard all the analysts and all the procrastinators, say what the Yankees have to do. They got to win Game 4. And you can talk about having 4 games in a row and how you've got to save your bullpen. Bull. I mean, I call bull on that. I think the Yankees are all hands on deck today. There's such a huge difference. If you win, in baseball we know this, how many times in fantasy have you added a pitcher who you didn't even know who he was and he threw the game of his life? And I go back to a World Series game in this is a long time ago, 1978, when Dartmouth graduate Jim Beatty, pitching for the Yankees against the Dodgers in the World Series, throws an absolute gem at LA. Okay, you've got to win today. And so Yankee approach today is very simple. Let's win today. We can't let Tanaka get on the ropes. We've got to get production out of the top of our order. But more importantly, the bottom of the order has got to produce. Where's Gregorius? Where's Sanchez? What's Gardner going to do? These guys at the bottom are critical today to Yankee success. We're going to talk about the Astros in a few minutes. I'm just looking right now at what the Yankees have to do. I don't think you worry about the next 3 days after today. You worry about today. Now, ideally for New York, Tanaka gives you 7 innings. Ideally. Maybe even 8. Okay, if they were to have a big lead, he goes the complete game route. I mean, that would be wow. But realistically, let's assume a tight game. Let's assume Tanaka pitches well and can go into the 7th. Now you can mix and match 2 innings without wearing anybody out. And Ottavino has been a very big disappointment. His slider is flat. Astros know it, and they're sitting on it. They're ready for that slider. There's been some discussion about Astros stealing signs. I mean, I don't know. The thing is, if you hit in big spots and you pitch in big spots, you're going to win in big spots. And the Yankees need to do that today for this series to have some importance. You go down 3-1 and you got to go back to Houston, you're not going to win. I mean, I just do not see a scenario where the Yankees can realistically expect to lose Game 4 and win the series. I just don't. And I think it will take a lot emotionally out of the team losing today, whereas I think winning today, it revs you up, it fires you up, and we'll have to take our chances tomorrow. LeMahieu, Judge, Torres, and Canarcion Hicks, those 5 have to produce, and you've got to have some balance down at the bottom of your order. Now, what about for the Astros? Against Tanaka, here's my projected lineup. Springer, Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Gurriel, Alvarez, Correa, Reddick, Chirinos. I'm going with Reddick today. Kyle Tucker. Did you see the swing? Did you see the swing? I mean, it was game 2. He swings at a ball that's probably a foot over his head. No kidding. And no chance of hitting it. I don't know if he's just nerves. I don't know if he's just over anxious. I call it being a rookie. But you also notice I've got Jordan Alvarez down in the order. He's not been hitting. Let's take a look at these averages. It's not so much that Houston has done a lot of great things. It's just they've won the tight games and they've performed well when they had to. Top of the order, Altuve, Bregman, incredible. So here's where we are as we look at this. I'm looking at hitting statistics so far for Houston. Springer's at 083. Okay. Bregman's at 143. Gurriel's at 091. Alvarez hasn't had a hit yet, 000. Correa's at 167. I know he hit the home run to walk off, but that's basically it. Okay, so who's hot for Houston? Well, Altuve's hitting 417 and Brantley's hitting 308. That's it. They're not killing the ball. They're not. Yankees, LeMahieu 385, Judge 308, Torres 417. That's it. Listen to the rest of these averages, and I know we're only talking about 3 games. Gardner 154, Encarnacion 083, Gregorius 083, Sanchez 077, Ursula 182, and of course Hicks played his first game and didn't get a hit. So you've got the top 3 hitters for the Yankees, LeMahieu, Judge, and Torres. You got to bat those guys 1, 2, 3. For Houston, Brantley and Altuve. And if you took those 5 guys away from both teams, you wouldn't have a lot of big O going on. You just wouldn't. So, interesting to see if the batting orders as I have them are accurate, if they stand pat, if they stand true. Is anyone in the chat room this morning want to talk about it? I'm looking in the chat room for some feedback. You're getting a big monologue from me, guys, without some feedback in the chat room. So, come on, give me some help here. So, rain out last night. Who does it help? Different approaches. I'm hearing what Houston should do with their staff, what the Yankees should do with their staff, when they're going to have a bullpen game. Here's my take. You don't have a bullpen game until you have to. Not in the playoffs. I mean, if Verlander can pitch Game 5 on normal rest, even if it's at Yankee Stadium, you pitch Verlander. Why? 2 reasons. First of all, Verlander's better than anything you got in the bullpen. Right? Anybody disagree with that? And playoff games are different. They're different beasts. You got to win that day. You got to put your best pitcher on the mound that day. And Verlander is clearly that for Game 5. I think on a second level, what message does it send? Arrogance is a surefire way to defeat. And if you say, oh, we'll save Verlander, we'll win in Houston. No guarantee you'll win in Houston. No guarantee. Let him pitch on his normal rest, on his normal schedule. Take your chances that way. So from a starting position perspective, for Houston, I got to leave it. Greinke Game 4, Verlander Game 5. We'll worry about Game 6, and Cole will pitch Game 7. That's a no-brainer for me. I think that's where A.J. Hinch has got to go. Yankees, same approach. Pitch the best you got, who's ready to go with it. So you got Tanaka in Game 4, Big Maple Game 5, maybe a bullpen game in Game 6, J. Happ, I don't know. What's wrong with pitching J. Happ? I mean, to me, the scenario is now changed. I don't think the Yankees can say we're going with a bullpen game. I think they need to name a starter for Game 6, and I think J. Happ is the logical choice. Why? Because you've got to use your bullpen 4 days in a row. Save Happ. He's a starting pitcher. He can give you some length. Here's the thing. If he's going to blow up, he can blow up in relief in a bullpen game as easily as he can as a starter. Start him out. If he gets into trouble, take him out. But let Happ start Game 6. Go as long as he can, as effectively as he can. Who knows? He may pitch a good game. And if he does, then you save your bullpen arms. 4 days in a row, guys. 4 days in a row of bullpen for the New York Yankees is not an ideal scenario. And so I think you have to change your approach with having no off day the rest of this series. I would go Happ Game 6. I would let him go as far as he can go. See what happens. Game 7, you come back with Severino. And the thing about Severino, okay, let's look at his last start. He threw 30-some pitches in Game 1, or the first inning of the game he pitched. But he was throwing that slider and he wasn't getting it over. When he went to his fastball, he was consistent, 97, 98, spotting it. And after the first inning, he was much more economical. Lesson learned. If you don't have that slider, don't throw it. That's where the home runs came from. That's where Houston's advantage came from. Go with that fastball. He moved it around, up in the zone, down in the zone, to the east, to the west. He was moving it. And Astro batters were having trouble with it. He threw over 90 pitches. He's stretched out now. He can give you some length. And frankly, if you had to tell me at the beginning of the season, when spring training, day one started, you got a game 7, who do you want for the Yankees? I'm taking Luis Severino. And if we come to a game 7, that's who the Yankees will have. So, interesting scenario pitching-wise. I pitch my best. Astro-wise, same scenario. Game 6, if that becomes your so-called bullpen game, or Quino, whoever, let him start. Put somebody in who can go some distance. I mean, don't start Will Harris. You know Will Harris is only going to give you an inning or two. Start Oquendo. Start someone who might can give you some distance should he be able to be effective. And let him go. Save the arms as much as you can. I'll tell you something else. 4 days in a row, familiarity breeds contempt, and sometimes familiarity breeds success. And if you see the same pitcher 3 days out of 4, you start to figure him out. Yankee hitters, Astro hitters, these guys, we're not talking about the Orioles and the Blue Jays guys. We're talking about disciplined hitters. You've got to throw the ball in the strike zone for the most part. And if you don't, you will pay. And if you're flat in that zone, you will pay. We've seen that. Even from the best. Verlander's homer, he gave up to Judge. The slider Severino throws to Altuve that's flat as a rock, that's sent way out of Yankee Stadium. These hitters are going to pounce like a lion on a wildebeest in the African desert. Every time. So you've got to be careful of those type of scenarios. Now, bullpen-wise, I've been very impressed with what I've seen out of Smith for Houston. He's a little off-speedish. He's giving the Yankees fits. Remember Mike Myers, the lefty specialist for the Red Sox back, 15 years ago? Yankees couldn't touch him. He comes over to New York, and man, he has a 10 ERA or something. But the Yankee hitters couldn't touch him. They're having a trouble with Smith. If I'm the Astros, I'm living on some Smith in that bullpen. As soon as pitch well, too, is the closer. The closers, I call it a draw. But it's those setup guys. And right now, I'm not carried away with Ottavina. Now, the rest of the Yankee bullpen, the short guys, who else are you not confident in? I don't have a lot of faith in Britton. Bouncing balls up there. He throws 95 miles an hour, so do it. Challenge the hitters. It's almost like when I watch Britton pitch, he's scared. I'll just call it like it is. He looks scared. Now, I know he's pitching his Astro hitters. They're good. They're great. They're awesome. Whichever adjective you want to use. But so Zach Britton, I mean, this is no chopped liver. He saved over 45 games a couple years ago for the Orioles. For the Orioles. He knows what it's like to close out games. He knows to get good hitters out, you got to throw your pitch, you got to throw it effectively. So, I want to see more out of Zach Britton than I've seen in the clutch. Tommy Kahnle, I've been very pleased. We'll see how those bullpens roll. Andrea Lamont in the chat room, good morning. So we're talking Astros, we're talking Yankees. The Astros are clearly, in my opinion, in the driver's seat. Clearly in the driver's seat. And the key to today's game, I think, we can talk about Altuve, we can talk about LeMahieu, we can talk about Judge, we can talk about Correa, we can talk about any of the hitters you want to talk about, but I think the real key to today's game lies in the right arm of Zach Greinke. If Zach Greinke comes out and gets a lead and holds serve, series over. Series over. If Greinke comes out and is not effective, Yankee Stadium is going to be rocking tonight at 8 o'clock or 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And Greinke has not historically been that kind of pitcher. So, how do the Astros approach Greinke? I think you let him throw the ball in the zone, challenge Yankee hitters. Let's see how he does. Tanaka, the best Yankee starter, his postseason ERA over his career in 41 innings is 1.32. That's 7 postseason starts. And Tanaka has never allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start. That's right. So what Greinke can do to hold serve in that situation, that's why I think the Game 4 boils down to that. I want to go back to something that I saw in Game 3. If you remember, I think it was like the 3rd inning maybe. LeMahieu and Judge get on base for the Yankees with no out. Brett Gardner's at the plate. Something that's missing in Major League Baseball is good old-fashioned fundamentals. In that situation, Yankees are trailing by a run. 1st and 2nd, no outs. Brett Gardner at the plate, and he's swinging away. Are you kidding me? If Brett Gardner lays down an effective bunt, sacrificing himself, you've got 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, and you probably get a run that inning. And a run in that inning with Cole on the mound is huge. So my question is, the old saying, the chicks dig the long ball. I think all the fans dig the long ball, but where is the bunt? Where is the execution now in Major League Baseball? It's a different game than in the 70s and 80s, the game I knew to love, grew up loving. Remember teams like the A's in the 70s and Campy Campaneris and Bill North and those guys who could bunt the baseball. The Reds, Concepcion, Geronimo, who could bunt the ball. The Dodgers, Bill Russell, Davey Lopes, who could bunt the ball. The Yankees, Willie Randolph, Bucky Dent, Mickey Rivers, those guys who could bunt the baseball. And bunting the baseball moves the defense. It makes the defense make plays. Now, I know Houston can make plays. But if you put yourself in 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, remember Gardner flew out lazily to left field. So instead of 1st and 2nd and 1 out, you could have had 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. And that's huge. The defense then has to play different. You didn't make Houston play different. You didn't make the infield come in. You didn't make the defense have to make a critical play. The Yankees left that inning scoreless with fly balls that went to die. I'm not sure why the bunt has been left out of the playoffs. I do know that it has. So, tonight at 8 o'clock, what will happen to Stanton? A lot of criticism going the Giancarlo Stanton way. Game 1, he homers. Game 2, he can't play because of his strained right quad. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not Giancarlo Stanton. I do know this. If you hurt, you hurt. And your legs in baseball, I mean, how critical are they? I don't know how the guy feels. I'm not going to sit here on the air and lambaste him because I don't know. I do know this. There's a difference in a nagging injury and an injury that totally prohibits you from playing. I tore a calf muscle once. I couldn't play. I've had cramps. I've had hamstring aggravations, and I could play. Maybe not to the level I'd want to. But I could ice it down, I could wrap it up, and I could get out there and give it my best. Hopefully, that's what we'll see out of Giancarlo. Now, what's happened, the Yankees, remember, carried 13 pitchers and only 12 position players. So without that position player, the Yankees are extremely hamstrung on bench opportunities. Now, I know that Boone has said Giancarlo may come off the bench and pinch hit, and he may. But if he's not eligible to pinch hit today, the question will be, number one, when will he be? And number two, if he's not, you got to replace him. Now, if they take him off the ALCS roster, he cannot play in the World Series. He has to skip the next round, which is the World Series, which may be why the Yankees have decided to leave him off. But here's my thing. No guarantee the Yankees are going to make the World Series, and you need that extra body. My call would be simply this. If Stanton can play Game 4, great. If he can't, I'm putting him on the injured reserve. I'm calling somebody else up who can do something for me. Who would you call up? I would call up Voit. I'd call up somebody like Tyler Wade. I'll tell you why. I think the Yankees could use that extra set of legs in late inning games. A pinch runner, and we've seen it how many times. Remember Dave Roberts for the Red Sox, the year they beat the Yankees, went on to win the World Series? Dave Roberts' legs were a big reason why the Red Sox won the World Series that year. The Yankees could use that type of player. If he can't play today or can't play tomorrow, I'm saying he can't play today. Today is the day you have to win. If he can't play today, I'm putting him on the IL. And I'm calling up Tyler Wade. And he's going to be my set of legs off the bench. 8 o'clock tonight, we'll find out. I tell you what, keep your eye on it. See how close I am. I'm going to take the Yankees to win tonight. I think the Yankees will win Game 4. And then I'll give us something to talk about for Games 5, 6, and 7, right? World Series next week. We'll cover all that then. We'll bring the Nationals into discussion, decide who they're going to be playing. This series is going to be great. I hope everybody has a great day. Go out and watch that game tonight. Let's talk about it soon on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.